Everybody needs to click the little I agree thing, I guess.
Okay.
And I'll count us into the show. I do my little introduction. Okay, there's a view, multi-speaker, all hosts, video order, speaker. All right, check. I'm going to switch to that. Hosts, video order, video participants. Okay, I think we're okay over here. It's been a little while since we've done it on Zoom, but it'll be fun. We're just gonna chat tiny cars. It'll be a blast. All right. And David, are you all set? Anything we need to go over?
Nope, I'm good to go.
All right, let's go then. In 3, 2.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Well, hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to Diecast Breakdown. I am so glad you're with us today. We have got another Matchbox person in the house. I love when we talk about Matchbox, and this guy knows a thing or two, but we'll get to him in just a second. Before we get too far, I want to thank our patrons that make the show go, especially our executive producer level patrons. Those are the people that donate $20 a month or more to help this crazy project of ours, and I'm so grateful to them. So that's why they get a shout out every episode. But we are grateful to all our patrons. You're seeing them on screen now. But again, shout out to Reviews Through Another Lens, our newest executive producer level patron, Mike's Mods and Customs, Mad Visions, Video Geek Productions, First and 64th Customs, DrivenDreams.org, Dane Self, and of course, Mr. David Johns at Twice Diecast. Thank you all so much for paying your hard-earned money for this fun project that we do. I want to shout out that we do have a new production assistant level patron. That would be Black Eagle Diecast. Thank you very much. You might have noticed they got a small channel shout out on our last episode. If you want to join their ranks and help us keep the lights on over here, it is kind of expensive with all the gear that we've got. You can visit diecastbreakdown.com or click the little join button if you're watching us on YouTube, and that is a great way to help support this channel, help us learn more about the awesome people that make this hobby great, one of which is going to be on this show today. But before I get to him, I got one more person to talk to, and that would be Mr. David Johns. David, my co-host, my friend, how the heck are you today?
I'm doing good, Chuck, and I've got a hunch we are going to see the Matchbox collection tonight. I'm really looking forward to this.
I know. I was just thinking about our Charlie Mack interview the other day, and this, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask our guest if there's some kind of feud going with their collections, because they're both incredible, and I'm so excited that we are joined by Jim Gallegos, legendary Matchbox collector, Model Car Hall of Fame member, huge collection of die casts. I'm seeing numbers that I can't even believe, but we'll let him answer that question. But Jim, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and just to share.
Sure. And the question that I always like starting off with, because we're usually a bunch of grown-ups playing with toy cars, but what do tiny cars mean to you?
Tiny cars is something that I started playing with way back about 1963. When I was a kid, I would go to the local hobby shop and get a model or two when I can afford it, and it's just carried on. And I love real cars. I love just looking at them and just being around them. But little cars, that way I've been able to afford the models and cars that I can't afford in real life. So it's just a lot of fun. And the best part about it actually has been the people that I've met. I've met so many great people, so many friends, lifelong friends. And thank goodness my wife and son absolutely love the hobby too, as well as his new wife.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's really great when it can be a family thing. You see, one of the things that David and I have just started doing, because we're not new to the hobby, but we're really kind of newer to diving in as deep as this, is going to some of the events and the conferences. And I really want to get out to Albuquerque sometime soon, and we'll talk about that in a second. But just meeting the other people and talking to them, and it's such a incredibly diverse hobby. too. Like there are I always like to say there's a diecast car for everyone. Whether you want a car that's shaped like a vintage Aston Martin or you want one that's shaped like a slice of cake. There's there's just about everything in between. And I agree with you. The people really are what made it special. But when you started really collecting, like, was this just kind of a steady progression, or was there like one day where you were like, okay, I'm really getting serious about my collection, and I'm really gonna turn on the collecting function of my mind and really start bringing in new cars?
I've actually never gotten to that point. I enjoy collecting the cars, but I've never really just said, hey, I'm going to change bases or anything. I've changed what I collect from time to time, depending on what is the flavor of the day. I really haven't ever gotten to that point. I just love the little toys and love collecting them and love the people who I've met through it and people who design them as well.
Well, I know you're mostly known for your Matchbox collection and your participation. You're running this big event every year and your involvement there. But I'm told you have quite a few brands in your collection. So how many brands do you have in your collection?
I'm guessing it's right around 450 different brands, with
Wow.
Match, Hot Wheels, Dinky, and Corgi being the main players. Matchbox and Hot Wheels are probably pretty close in numbers, and then a ways behind them are Dinky and Corgi.
I didn't even know there were 450. Is that just diecast, or is that like other types of toys too?
No, that's just diecast, although we
Oh,
do
wow.
collect kinds of toys. Every kind of toy you can imagine. My wife collects vintage plastic toys.
I just found this one in my collection. This is a plastic GTO that I don't know where it's from, but it's very clearly based on the old Redline Hot Wheels with the sirens on top and stuff. I think somebody just took a mold of the old Redline and made it into a plastic toy. And I've had it on my desk for a while because it's such a wild thing, because it's very clearly the Hot Wheels car that's been made into a plastic copy. But yeah, I used to collect those, like the blow mold types of plastic cars with the little snap-on wheels in the bottom and stuff. And who is it? Was it Tootsie Toy? I think they did some plastic cars for a little bit in the 80s and 90s as well. So kind of the more like 1/32, 1/43 scale type larger cars. So 450 different brands of diecast. So I'm guessing obviously Matchbox is the favorite of the group, but is there any one of those 450 brands that kind of has just like a little special spot in your heart that might be a little more obscure that most people wouldn't know about?
There's actually a couple of them that I've really fallen for. Like I said, of course, the Dinky and the Corgi, but there's some that have copied Matchbox. I've kind of gone into those as well, and I collect copies of, there's several different plastic and metal copies of Matchbox ones as well. So it just really runs the gamut. Fun Ho is a real popular brand in New Zealand, and I've been able to acquire a complete collection of those through a friend in Japan. But that's probably one of my ones that I really pursued quite a bit.
That one, is that the one that, are they Sandcast? I have a friend, one of our patrons is from New Zealand, and he mentioned that there was a diecast company or a company that made metal cars, but they were Sandcast. They would actually make the cars out of sandcasting.
The newer ones, I believe, are Sandcast, and then they have a larger scale. As a matter of fact, I have one right here. I'll show you just a second.
Sure.
This one right here is a Sandcast, but this one,
interesting.
But they do make newer ones now as well. They have quite a line that they've made, and then they make them in all different colors. And the gentleman that really got me started on those was actually a very famous Matchbox collector. He had many one-of-a-kinds. He's passed away, I believe. I've lost contact with him, and because of the language barrier with the rest of his family, and he has no email anymore, I think he may have passed. He was 85 the last time he came over to the United States to the gathering.
That is a shame.
Yeah, Takio was his name.
Jim, can I steer us back to Matchbox, because I want to talk about Matchbox? I want to ask you two questions, and I purposefully didn't give you a heads up because I want to get your gut reaction.
Back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors. Legendary Hollywood concept artist and designer Fireball Tim Lawrence has created 3 exclusive pieces of automotive art based on the 3 hosts of Diecast Breakdown. Get these and other brilliant designs printed on mugs and more at fireballtimgarage.art today. Here's this week's small channel shout-out.
Cool Cat Custom Diecast.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
One word, when I say the word and the name Matchbox, what is one word that pops in your head immediately?
Well, my favorite Matchbox model, which would be one of the most common models, it would be the Greyhound bus. Well, actually, 2 words. It would be Greyhound bus. And Ford GT.
There, okay.
2 of the most common Matchbox regular wheel models ever made.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So my question then, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we will edit this out if I'm wrong. You are the second Matchbox ambassador of record. So as someone who has been selected to be an ambassador of the brand Matchbox, and perhaps there are people who are tuning into this episode just because they like Matchbox as a brand. What is it about the brand that makes Matchbox specific collectors so loyal to this brand? With all the other brands out there, there is a certain uniqueness to the Matchbox specific collectors. What do they like? And I'm one of them, about these cars over Hot Wheels. And we're not talking trash about any other brand, but there is a following for Matchbox that is unparalleled in the diecast community.
I think it's the history of it. Matchbox, the small models, 1/64th, or they were the exact scale, but that line started in 1953. And I think that the realism, a lot of them had opening doors. A couple of them had, you can steer them, just different features of them. And then a lot of really nice play sets, which I can kind of give you a hint. You're going to start seeing more of them again. I just spoke with the director at Mattel on that earlier this weekend. And there's really cool stuff coming. And this guy is wonderful about it. But I think the realism, of course, you probably know, there was a few years when the Hero City era, when Matchbox really kind of went down the tubes, and so many people interest because you had a fire hydrant, you had models that really didn't exist. And so what they've done is they've tried to stay with realism. Even the car that looks like a banana, it is a real car.
Right.
So I think that's really, people like the realism on it. And even Mattel will admit to that, because if you talk with someone at Mattel, the split between Matchbox and Hot Wheels was for speed, Matchbox was for realism. Those were the marketing buzzword not too long ago.
I think you said in an interview that I watched, cars that you see, cars you will actually see on the road. So speaking of cars that we'll see, tell the listeners maybe how many Matchbox cars are in your collection.
Well, Matchbox is the major part of my collection. And right now I've got about 225,000 diecast pieces. However, Matchbox makes up probably about 75 to 80,000 of those.
Gracious.
Yeah.
Is there that many different versions, or is it just, do you have doubles or triples? Is it like, how do you get so many?
These are unique models.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them, actually, there's 2 of them that I could think of that single models, there's over 1,000 variations known on them.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, it's on the MB-38 Ford Model A van and on the London bus.
I was going to say, it's got to be the Model A van.
Yeah.
And then you get into some of the Bulgarian and Hungarian castings. And those ones right now make up about a little over 10,000 pieces in my collection between the 2. And every one is different.
Yeah, for those of you who are tuning in and haven't seen the Charlie Mack episode, go check that out because he talks about the Bulgarian cars and how they were made, and it's just wild that these things were being like basically painted in people's houses. Like it was just kind of an assembly line that was being done in a
In a
village
neighborhood.
somewhere in a neighborhood, and they were just making the cars and kind of just adding stuff as they went. I think those are really fun. What are some of the things that you really like about the Bulgarian Matchbox?
Well, Bulgarian Matchbox, I was very fortunate to have gotten in contact with the owner of the factory.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, I had a run made for Charlie Mack with his company, his Matchbox USA on them. And then anything I would ask for, they would do for us. Although communication being kind of strained at times, they would put my company on as well as Matchbox USA on the same model when we were trying to get a line for Charlie. But I think it was a lot of fun because whatever I wanted, I was able to get. The gentleman, I told him, send me the complete selection of unpainted models and variations, and he did that. So that was a lot of fun too. Really nice guy. He actually ran like a hunt club in his real job, and then he ran the factory as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's something I want to ask you about because I see that Tyco Matchbox sign behind you, and it's kind of a very interesting little slice of Matchbox history, that short run where it was run by Tyco. And we were talking with, what's Doug's dad's name?
Ian Woods.
Ian Woods. We were talking with him. We ran into him at the Hot Wheels show. And it seems like each time that the company changed hands, there was a lot of history that was lost. Can you speak a little bit about the transition? Because I know you're a preserver of a lot of Matchbox history as well. So can you talk a bit about what was lost and what was saved?
Well, what happened there when Tyco handed it over, a lot of models were just destroyed. You had angry employees, a number of them. As a matter of fact, I have some that were saved from the destruction pile, sort of. They were hit with a hammer, crushed. When it got down to Mattel, I went and I met with Mattel. I met with Felix Hulse. He was later became the vice president of Diecast at Mattel. And he showed me the chest with what was forwarded from Tyco, and it really wasn't very much. It was kind of a sad story. So I tried to build them a little bit of history. I tried to accumulate for them one of every model from 1953 to 2000, one of every castings. And they actually got that, made a display in Larry Wood, Hot Wheels Larry Wood, his old gas station. They turned it into a conference room. And until today, that still stands, the display, although they changed the cars out. But there really wasn't much passed along. It was really kind of sad.
Yeah, it's just amazing the circle that our collectors community really maintains, and it's so refreshing when you see a Hot Wheels guy and a Matchbox guy, and we're all just fans of little cars, and that collaboration really, I don't know, just kind of made me feel good, Jim, to hear that story. I'm a little curious as we talk about some of these lesser known and castings that almost disappeared or were almost scuttered or whatever. You really have an affinity for prototypes, don't you? Like you have a lot of those in your collection. I'm curious, like maybe some interesting stories about some of the weirder or more rare prototypes and how they came to be into your collection.
Well, one of the sets, there's actually a set of prototypes which I cherish. It was actually given to me by Takio, the gentleman from Japan. And I don't know if you ever know the story of the larger dump truck. It's the most expensive Matchbox that there's ever been, but it's a large scale dump truck that was never produced. And it was sold at Vectis auctions, and it was sold by Takio. But he had a set of Japanese prototypes which were going to be released in sort of an incentive where you purchase one model or 10 models and you get something like this right here, which is really tough to get. a Japanese Collectors Club medal. There it is.
Hmm.
Okay. And then for every 10 you get one of these gold models. And they did the mock-up of them. It's both regular wheels and super fast models. And there is a license, a Japanese driver's license, which was made for it.
Huh.
And I have the only one in existence. But he gave me the set of 10 cars, and I can show them to you. Or maybe. I don't know if you...
Oh my goodness, look at that. So I see a wagon.
Tilted.
We got the Rolls, the Silver Spur. We got a
Mercedes ambulance.
Yeah.
Cadillac ambulance. VW Fastback. Is that the Lotus?
Mura or Europa?
Europa.
Yeah.
Mustang Fastback.
Yeah.
Very
But that
cool.
was the set. And then this is the driver's license on the bottom there.
Oh, wow.
That is just fantastic.
And you can see on the back the way that you would fill it in.
Uh-huh.
And then above it, of course, those are two treasures of mine. It's Leslie Smith, his business card. And when he was at Lesney, he's the founder, one of the founders.
He's the Les and Lesney, correct?
Yes. And he actually signed the one.
Oh, wow.
But that was kind of a neat thing. That's one of my favorite ones. Another one, of course, is this one right here, which is the prototype for the Ambassador model.
Oh, wow.
And that's a special one.
That's a special one. It comes right apart. Never been riveted.
That's cool.
Fun one. And then I've got quite a few others. I have one which was actually a spoof model. Michael Herald owns the only other one of this. And it was just a joke that we always made about we were going to have this as a gathering model because it's one of the most unpopular models of the time.
Right.
Yep.
This was actually made by Abe Lugo at Mattel.
Oh, how about that?
And he made two of them, one for myself, one for Michael Geraldo, made a special case for them. So that's another one. I've got probably close to 10,000 prototypes when you break down Matchbox and Hot Wheels. And then I collect prototypes of all other brands as well.
You mentioned unpopular Matchbox, and it made me think. Charlie mentioned that one of the cars that he really wants is like a Matchbox that was a soapbox derby car, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Do you happen to have that one in your collection?
I do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I do. There weren't very many of them made. I hear differences on the numbers. I know they did a remake with the Mica Club, which was based out of England, but had a branch in Ontario, Canada. They actually remade that, and it comes with 3 different scarf colors. And I was lucky enough to get from Rita, who was one of the ones that ran the Canadian one, all 3 scarf colors. But the one is almost impossible to find a full one. I've seen them for sale maybe 3 times in 50 years.
And you've got one of them.
I have one of them, yes.
That's amazing.
Listen, I gotta ask real quick. Is there one casting that you cannot stand so much you have decided it has no place in your collection?
No.
All right.
No. All right. Appreciate, because I know all the work that goes into them.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, if I can give you just a quick funny story.
Sure. Absolutely.
I was in the Mattel Design Center a few years back. I was invited to go and I did a presentation for Matchbox and for Hot Wheels, the teams there. And I went to the desk afterwards I don't know if you remember Ryu Asada.
100%. Absolutely.
Okay. He and I were, every time we'd go out to California, we'd get together with him whenever we could. And my son and he became good friends. But I went over and he was working on this new software. And it was one where you put your hand in the glove and you can feel the pressure. And he was working on a model, and I had seen him save it. So what I did is I went and I carved the model up on the screen, and he came back and looked at it and just started laughing. But it's really, really pretty cool. And to my understanding, he was the only one that could operate that because all the instructions were in Japanese.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense.
It was a new machine to the industry and to almost any industry. And it's really kind of cool.
I have to ask, because you've got these experiences like that one, and I understand your background. You were a software engineer for AT&T, right?
I worked for software. I worked for AT&T. I worked in software there. And then later I went and worked in healthcare. And I retired from healthcare about 5 years ago now.
Okay. So my point being, like, diecast cars was not your day job. That was not something that you studied for. You didn't, but somehow you became the second official ambassador for Matchbox. So can you tell me the story about how that happened? How you went from being just a guy who collects Matchbox to Mattel tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, we want to make you an ambassador"?
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages. Diecast Breakdown is produced in partnership with Twice Diecast and Driven Dreams Org on YouTube. Check out their channels in the video description and subscribe for more epic Diecast content.
Hey, this is Larry Wood.
This is Derek from Honest Diecast.
Hey, this is Chad Reed from Round 2.
This is Mike from Gaslands.
The SRT Jovita Show.
This is Champion DJ K.
This is Mad Vision here.
This is Diecast Dude.
And you're watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
Years ago, Mattel, he was a director at the time, Felix Holst, later became vice president of Diecast, but he had contacted me and asked if I could provide a color palette for him, if I could send him the different color models from 1970. He was very interested in transitional Matchbox models. And so I did send them to him. I sent him one of each, and that was part of it. And then Michael Geralda, he came out to our convention. He was just a very curious person. He came out, he wanted to see what our convention was about. And knowing Michael, he has got to know how everything works. He wants to see the inside, and he really cares. He really is a wizard when it comes to design or reading what people really want. So he came out to try and just kind of sample. And between them, I think that they probably, I'm not sure how the selection went, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think probably because I had worked with them and they knew that I had the resources as far as if they wanted anything, I supplied them with pocket catalogs from like 1963 to 2000, one of each. And then it just basically opened up my collection, and I've done that throughout. Whenever they wanted to, they were building their archives, I lent them. I had the original videotapes for commercials, for Matchbox commercials. And so they took those and they digitalized them. And then just a lot of other stuff. They knew that I had a lot of stuff that they probably wanted, and there's stuff that they probably do want and I won't give them. I have the original bankruptcy papers.
Oh, wow.
When Matchbox declared bankruptcy, I have the originals of those. I have some binders with a lot of that kind of stuff, too, because the history I find as fascinating as the models.
Now, that's not something you go out and find on eBay. How do you come across the bankruptcy papers for Matchbox? I gotta follow up on that one.
Okay, that one, there was a gentleman, he's since passed away. When I was working for AT&T, I worked out of New Jersey. And there's a gentleman, his name was Ray Sitch, which of course Charlie knows, and John Lambert wouldn't know him. He was before. But anyway, I would go to his house and just visit with him. He was very close friends with Fred Bonner. And Fred Bonner is the person who brought Matchbox to the United States. He was Matchbox in the United States. And Ray accumulated any and everything you can imagine. There's the infamous or famous, I guess you call them the Bonner archives. And Fred Bonner would archive everything. And there was, to my knowledge, 5 paper boxes full of this kind of thing. And I was able to get 2 of them. The other 3 I know went to auction when he passed. And one that I have, there was a lot of correspondence. This happened to be in there. But a lot of it was correspondence, sales lists when they were going to release models. And I think go back to like the mid to late 50s. And then a lot of when they were doing design from England back and forth, they would send information about a model and this is where it's at. And a lot of them were from a museum, a car museum on Long Island. So a lot of that stuff was in there as well. And then a lot of drawings and stuff.
Wow. So you didn't realize that the bankruptcy papers were in there? That just happened to be something that was in this box of documents you got?
It was. I went through it. It looked really interesting because it had a lot of fun-looking things, but I didn't go through the whole box when I did that. And Ray Sitch had a very extensive Matchbox collection, being tied in as close as he was. I got a lot of my early Lesney toys from him. The Rag and Bone Cart, the Milk Float, some of the Caterpillars, Coronation Coach.
Jim, an ambassador, according to my phone, is a diplomatic agent of the highest rank appointed for a special diplomatic assignment. And I think you fit the bill, and I want people to hear what you've been doing for the past 22 years to represent Matchbox and to spread the word about this brand and maybe why you do what you do every year around this time of the year. Just tell us what you got going on in a few weeks in Albuquerque.
Well, I can tell you how it started. We were disappointed. My wife and I, we collect antique toys as well, because there were no toy shows. And the one toy show there was shut down. And so we thought, well, let's try and do our own. And I had no experience or anything in it. So we started doing that. We contacted a few friends. And surprisingly, a few of us got together here in Albuquerque 22 years ago, and we just talked Matchbox. We went to dinner, and then we thought we'd do it again. And we started doing it on an annual basis. We invited more people. We had one of our pioneers is Paul Carr. Paul Carr used to work for Lesney. He retired from Lesney in England. If you look on the back of the Ford Model A van, some of them will have PC 1957. That's his initials and his birth date. His birth year.
Yeah.
But so we started doing that. And then Michael kind of got involved with us. And then Mattel contacted me and wanted to be one of our support groups. And that's how I got the tie-in with Mattel. And they've started making our models. Michael has designed all of our models. Michael Geralda has. He designs our logos. He designs our banners. He designs our shirts. The shirt that I'm wearing now is actually going to be our shirt for this upcoming convention. And the convention is the 26th through the 28th of July here in Albuquerque. We have the top collectors from all over the world will be here. The Mattel design team will be here. Mattel marketing team is going to be here. Gary Cody, the new person, well, not new person. He was a manager at Matchbox. Then he was a director for Hot Wheels. He's the one who led the Hot Wheels ID line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he came back and he's doing the play sets now, but he's going to be coming out here and talking about the play sets now. We have a real car show, which it's run by a gentleman. His name's Matt Torres, who has done these huge car shows. He's done the Super Nationals for years, but he does our show now. And then we'll have the large banner that they had at the Peterson Museum. I don't know if have you seen that?
I don't know if I've seen the actual banner.
Let's see if I have a flyer here. This is the banner.
Oh,
and that's Abe Lugo. He's the Matchbox designer's car.
Yeah.
It's not going to be here, but the banner will be here. But we'll have that at our car show, and then we're looking at letting anyone who wants drive their car in front and take a picture. But we'll do that. And then, of course, we'll have the presentations we do. Bob Porgia is probably one of the top experts, if not the top expert, on early Matchbox and the history of it. He and Ray Sitch were very close, but he'll be presenting. He's doing 1959 and 1960 this year. He just talks about the range. And he started way back when, a few years ago. Paul Carr's going to do a presentation, My Life at Matchbox. The Mattel design team and marketing team will be doing a presentation, as well as Gary Cody. And then, of course, we have the dinner, the auction. People donate the auction goods, and we've donated, whatever we get, we've donated to local children's charity.
That's amazing.
The same with the car show, too, because we have no interest in any of the proceeds from it. But we get a lot of great volunteers. John Lambert will be here again. He comes to most of ours whenever he can. of course, had to go to Taylor Swift concert last year, so he couldn't make it. But we've
Understood.
he's got
Understandable.
it's just fun, and everyone donates their time. They donate so much. We have a gentleman, Larry Valdez, has donated our badges, professionally made badges every year, and so thousands of badges and our posters. We have a gentleman, Dave Esparza, retired from Honda in California there, and he did our posters as well. So there's just so much that is done, and we're just really thankful. We're really lucky, and these people, they love the hobby, they love the people, and they love giving.
So we're talking, of course, about the gathering as it's commonly known as, and I really like, Jim. It is a convention in the loose interpretation of that word, but it really is a gathering of friends, and it's just different than maybe a diecast show that you've been to in the past. Of course, the tickets are gone for this year. Can you tell people how to get a chance to go to this amazing event in 25? Like, what are some dates that they need to put a reminder in your phone and try and be there to get a chance to be at this event?
Well, the dinner and the toy show are sold out, 130 tables, 150 people at the dinner. However, they can still attend everything else. Everything else is free.
Good.
We don't
there you go.
For anything. Michael's actually doing a charity bingo this year, first time ever. So they can come participate in that, and there's going to be some really cool surprises. But everything else, the car show's free, the seminars are free. We don't charge for in-room trading. But the way that they could do that is they could follow us on Instagram at Matchbox Collectors Gathering. They could follow me at Jim Gallegos on Instagram. And then Matchbox Gathering we have on Facebook. And we put everything out there. It's going to be in July next year. We've already almost summed everything up, but it's going to be a week earlier. We moved it a week later this year to try and give the people who go to Comic Con a little bit of opportunity to join ours. And of course, because of that, I don't know if Johnny Jimenez, he's the one on Pawn Stars, a toy expert. He's been here before, but he's going to be out here. So that's kind of cool. He hasn't been able to come in the past. And then a lot of other people we're hoping can join us, because there's people that have commitments to that. And of course, it's a much larger event than ours. So they end up having to go there. So, but we're going a week earlier next month. So it'll be the third week, but we'll publish that. And at the gathering, we always give save the date cards to everyone there, and we'll post those online. But if they follow me on Instagram at Jim Gagos, that's a good way. And then Matchbox Collectors Gathering as well.
Chuck, sounds like diecast heaven to me.
I know. I'm going to have to mark my calendar for next year. I don't think I can make it this year, but next year I'm definitely going to do my best to get out there.
We would love to see you. You just keep in touch.
That'd be amazing. One of the things that we've gotten to do recently is we've gone live from the Diecast SuperCon, and we've gone live from the Hot Wheels Collector Nationals now. And we even had a guest. We had Eddie Castro, the designer over at Maisto, join us for our live from Vegas, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's again, like, I can't emphasize enough to fellow collectors, if you're thinking about going to one of these events and you haven't, you really got to do it. It's weird to be amongst people that you've never met before, but that you can immediately strike up a conversation. And it's amazing how small the worlds can be. Like, I was in Atlanta talking with somebody, and I was talking about this old car I own, my 64 Valiant, and turns out we both know the same guy that helped me build the engine on my car. And this guy was from Wisconsin or something. And it just happened to be that we were both connected through this one guy that lives out in the middle of nowhere in rural Florida. And so you never know who you're going to run into, who you're going to meet. It's absolutely something to put on your calendar. And from what I've seen at the Albuquerque show, it's absolutely something that it's fun for the whole family. Even if you're a casual collector, it's just fun to go out and see these things. It's funny how many people I know who will tell me, oh, well, I'm not a car person, or I'm not even a diecast person. I think that a buddy of mine his wife was very much not into Hot Wheels cars at all. And she joined me and him once when we went out to a flea market and started looking, and there was this display that was just all Hot Wheels cars. And we're looking at them, and so she's just looking at them to kill time. And sure enough, she's like, there's a donut car. I love donuts. And she bought that one. And there she was like, there's a taco car. I love tacos. So she ended up buying 2 cars. And she's like, a person that was sure she would never want to own a Hot Wheels car or a diecast car. And that's why I say there's a diecast car for everyone.
That's right. That's what they say. As a matter of fact, when I was working for my healthcare job, we actually had cars made for that organization. And we gave them out to our brokers talking about our new plans, and they absolutely loved them.
Loved it, I'm sure.
Or another thing that we've done is I've been very fortunate because Mattel's has actually made models with my name on it, my son's car. They did. We got him a Land Rover when he graduated from high school, and they made his car, and on the rear license plate, and these are for general distribution, it has his initials and his birth date. And then they've done several for myself. And then my wife's car, they did her car as well. Michael's one who designed that and did the same color and everything. And we've got the prototypes for it. So that was kind of a fun thing. But the cars that you see out there, they're the people that you talk to, they're just normal people. We're all just normal people. And we just have a passion because most everyone, either whether you'll admit it or not, played with toy cars. My wife was a big toy car player. And as a matter of fact, the only cars that we have in our house, the toy cars, are hers. So I don't have any of mine in there.
Yeah, that was the rule, right? No cars in the house. And what this is a good story. Tell the viewers, how do you get around? You have 200,000 diecast, but your wife says no toy cars in the house. Now what do you do?
Well, I don't think she really means it, but what we did is we actually built a guest house, a 2,300 square foot guest house.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. And this is it right here. Just, if you just look around, it's nothing but toy cars.
Oh, wow.
Again, diecast heaven.
And this is just the upstairs. There's one small room upstairs, but the whole bottom is just packed with them. And we like it, and she loves it too. Yeah. She'll go out someplace and she'll buy something for me. As a matter of fact, I was at work one time in a meeting, and she texted me. She was in an antique mall. She had retired. She retired a year before I did. And she says, "Are any of these any good?" And I looked at them, and one of them was a hardcore Matchbox person, or anyone who collects regular wheels will know what the green 11A tanker is. It's a very rare miniature color variation. And that was one of them. And I says, "Yeah, get them." And so she bought the whole lot. It was about $100 for the whole lot. And then they gave her 20% off because she bought the whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But she's always looking for me, and she probably got maybe $1,500 to $2,000 worth of models.
Yeah,
in that one bit. But she's always looking, so that helps a lot. And then I have a niece that lives in Ohio. She and her husband help us with the event, and she's kind of gotten into it as well now. Her dad collected Matchbox, and so she kind of inherited his collection.
It's always so much more fun when family joins in, isn't it?
Well, it's contagious. It really is. And then especially if you have someone like Michael we always go and playing around. I love going in his studio. He's got just a wonderful studio, and the way that it's set up, and he's got a very, very creative mind, and he's just really good at what he does. So you meet all these wonderful people. I have yet to meet someone that just really turns me away. Yeah. So it's been fun. Look forward to it, and look forward to the gathering this year. Look forward to the gathering next year, and to see how we can make it better every year we try.
Well, it's clearly working because it sounds like the show just gets bigger and better each year. Talking about all these different cars and all these different years and eras that are part of your collection, is there a particular era or generation of Matchbox that stands out to you as like, this is where I really think they did it right, or this is where I really love what they were doing?
I think other than the Hero City era, I think they've always done it right. I love the stuff that they have. I love the stuff that they've made. I like the stuff that they make even today. And one thing that they're really good about, Abe is very good about this, is he wants to know what you like. The car that you saw in front of that banner, that's his car, and that's a Matchbox car too.
Yep.
If you look at the Austin Mini that you see in the Matchbox line, that's Melissa, his wife's car. I remember when they went and picked it up, they drove down to San Diego and picked it up there. We met them for lunch, and it was on a trailer. And next thing you know is they have it all torn apart, working it up. The same with this station wagon. They drove this station wagon from Denver, which is pretty gutsy to do. It was in the winter. Yeah. They stayed the night with us and then drove it to California, not really knowing how reliable it was. But I think just because of that, you've probably seen the Mercedes 123 wagons in the line.
Sure, absolutely.
Those are my son's.
What?
Get out of here.
He's got, let's see, now he has the black one, which they made, a brown one, which they made.
Right.
He has a green one, but it's not, he just got a green one. The yellow one he's had. So a lot of them are his cars.
Crazy.
So you say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And they'll make different models, not just for me, but for other people as well. They really listen, and they're the best marketing people that you can imagine. Just, they know how to communicate. They're real car people, and they practice what they preach.
David, your ears are smoking right now.
You know
what you're thinking.
The wheels are turning. I'm going to bite my lip. The viewers know what I'm thinking, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Tell me what you drive. I think that's where you're going.
Well, it's not what I drive. It's what I drove. My first car was a 1993 Saturn SL 4-door, and not a single diecast maker that I have ever seen has made a 93 Saturn. Yeah, there's been some pretty good ones from Hot Wheels, and I think I'm not sure, was there a Matchbox Saturn casting? I didn't think so. Maisto did a convertible. But yeah, that is one vehicle. That is my holy grail, my white whale. So one day, yeah, Jim, we
both have cars that have gotten no love from diecast. The 64 Valiant, there's a few Australian brands that have done their versions of the APV, as they call it, but there's not been an American Plymouth Valiant made by just about anybody that I can think of, unless something I don't. Show and tell time.
Yeah.
And this one, it's signed by Dave Weiss, Ria Sada, Peralta, and the group. But yeah, that's what the Ambassador bus looks like. Kind of a fun thing.
So was that in 2018 or no, 2018 was a Hall of Fame. When were you the ambassador, or the
2006 to 2007?
Okay. Well, that's super cool.
This may be a one of a kind. It's Jurassic Park. And I got this from a Mattel employee. And when they made these for Universal Studios staff, and never seen another one. I've tried to find out a little bit more about it. The box, of course, was kind of a mock-up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's one I brought. And another thing I brought, this was kind of a fun one. This is another Jurassic Park, one of a kind. Wow. This one here, I actually won at the Gathering auction.
Well, yeah, I love the display.
Yeah.
That Explorer that they did, I mean, they absolutely nailed that reproduction of that vehicle. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I have thought that was like just one of their better things of the past decade. I really did like that.
They did a good job. This is my favorite one, and this is an interesting drag bus. A lot of people collect the drag buses.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, this one here, it has Hot Wheels there. It's the World Task Force, a meeting they had.
Oh, wow.
And it has Matchbox on the other side.
Look at that.
Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. Somebody in marketing was blowing their top over that. I can't believe I'm seeing an official Hot Wheels car with a Matchbox logo on it. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's something very, very different. Michael Giralda has one with his picture on the top because he was one of the people that handed that. That was the
That is
thing. But
cool.
that's what all I put together. Oh, this is my son's car, the one that they did for him.
Oh, look at that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then got his name, initials, and birth date on the back, and his was the same color.
I don't think there's one of those super fasts that I don't like. Like I
Superfast are great.
some maybe some of the wheels, but I tell you, some of the castings in that super fast line are just
They did a really good job with that. They really did.
Yeah, and the collector's line is really good too.
oh yeah. Yeah.
That Triumph that they just did, it's gorgeous.
That one they did for me. It's got my name and birthday.
Wow. That's so cool.
But yeah, they've done stuff like that is really a lot of fun. But everything they do, there's very few that I don't like, and I think they're very well received. There's a couple of them that if you go to the stores, you can tell which ones I don't like. That's all there is at a Walmart or a Target or whatever.
Yeah.
The airport luggage carrier.
Yep, they've always had kind of a car. It's just you have to come up with the mix to have the right weight, the right number of cars, the right amount of metal, and some of them just don't make it.
I want to go back to the Explorer, the Jurassic Park Explorer real quick, because one of the things that I really like about the Jurassic Park Explorers that Matchbox is, they did something that is almost never seen, is they released an officially licensed Explorer that was damaged. And most car companies will not let you show off like we were talking with Larry Wood about like the crack ups and stuff. All those cars are technically fantasy cars because no car company wants to have damaged versions of their cars out there. And I thought that was so cool. I've got a couple of those crushed ones in my collection just because that's such a weird and rare thing that they would do an actual damaged version of the Ford Explorer and not hide that it was a Ford Explorer. Like that's how iconic that movie is and how iconic those vehicles are, is that they could still show off a damaged version of it and be fine.
That was really cool to see. I think people really enjoyed that. I know I did.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for cars like that. Like when Brendan created all the crushed diecasts for Hot Wheels, the monster truck line, I've got like several of those in my collection. And actually, when I got to meet him, I gave him a custom version of one of the crushed station wagons that he did, because it's just such a unique and strange thing. Like it comes up so rarely that you'll get. Yeah, it's coming up more and more now, but it used to be you'd never be able to find weathered versions of cars or damaged versions of cars that look like they were beat up and worn. And that's why so many of my customs, when I do customs, I do weathered ones and barn finds, and I carve dents into them and stuff, because like those are the cars that I see, the cars that I grew up riding in and wanting and enjoying. You saw my heap of a Valiant. It was a very weathered and beat up car for a long time. And it just like, it gives this added depth to the cars. It gives them character when you've got something that's a miniature that's purposely made to look weathered or damaged. So it's a rare thing. When it comes up, I always snap one up if I find a car that's designed like that. That's always something I've had a soft spot for. Jim, this has been incredible, and I love seeing people that are enthusiastic about this hobby and can not only participate in but contribute to the hobby. And that's such a unique thing, and I want to thank you for that and keeping this history alive, keeping the fires burning for something that means so much to so many people. And that it's so wild to me that at the time so much history gets lost because people are like, well, this is just a business, we're just making toy cars, we're done with this prototype, we're going to throw it away, or we're just going to throw out these papers or whatever. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for keeping the spark going for such an iconic type of collectible, but specifically Matchbox in general. So thank you for that.
Oh no, we love doing it, and when you come out next year, I'll give you a tour of the collection.
I would love that. Absolutely.
Pencil us in. We would love to be there and to maybe even like you mentioned, do a show from there and give people that firsthand experience. I know people would love seeing it from the site.
Let's really quick again remind the listeners and viewers about the show information, where they can find it and where they can find you on the internet.
All right. The show is the 26th to the 28th of July here in Albuquerque at the Marriott. They can contact me by email. It's Matchbox with a 0 instead of an O and the number 1 at AOL.com. Or they can go and follow me on Instagram at Jim Gagos or Matchbox Collectors Gathering. They can go to our Facebook page. And then, of course, MBX Gathering is our Instagram page. So any of those three. And just look it up. Give me a call. I'm happy to talk to you in person about what we do. And we look forward to seeing everyone there.
And Michael mentioned just the food alone makes it worth the trip. So I'm very much looking forward to getting out there and enjoying some New Mexico cuisine and hanging out with some really cool guys and talking tiny cars.
If you like green chili, it truly is the only place you can get real green chili. And Michael, he tries them all. We go to lunch with him all the time.
Jim, thank you for that. We're going to link to all the information that Jim just provided in the show notes. Again, please go check out this show. Check out Matchbox. If you haven't looked at Matchbox lately, do it. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening with that brand, and it's just a really fun community, and I think often an overlooked one. So next time you're at the pegs, check them out. They're definitely worth your time. And again, a big shout out to our patrons that help make this show go. Thank you very much. You can join their ranks over at diecastbreakdown.com, or you can buy merch. We have shirts and all kinds of fun stuff. You can visit the link that takes you to our shop, and that helps give some money to our graphic designer, Justin, who does all of this work for us for free, and we pay him back in the $1 or $2 every couple months when we sell a shirt. It's not one of the ones that David is wearing, but not that one. It's this one. You can get a Diecast Breakdown podcast shirt, but that is also a really good thing. So check out drivendreams.org. While I'm thinking about it, we had a collection box at Hot Wheels Collectors Nationals and got several hundred cars. People were dumping boxes of cars into it, but it's something where we're raising 24,000 cars for kids in need. We aren't, our co-host Mark is, but we're trying to help him do it. But check out drivendreams.org. You don't have to donate any money. You don't have to mail anything. It can all be done just by getting local brand new cars and donating them to a local charity. And then all you have to do is you go online and you say, I've pledged this many cars, and show a picture of the cars that you've donated, and it gets added to the pile. And it's a really great thing. We raised 14,000 cars last year, and we're looking to 24,000 cars in 2024. It just sounded like it had a nice ring to it. So that's the goal. So check that out, folks. And as always, we want to thank you for coming along with us for the ride. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thanks for listening to Diecast Breakdown. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend to listen in. Find Diecast Breakdown on your favorite social media platforms, or visit diecastmedianetwork.com to learn more about this and our other projects. Diecast Breakdown is a presentation of Flying Valiant and the Diecast Media Network.